So has anyone ever participated in a virtual interview? Has anyone ever participated in one? Anyone at all? How they found it? If you have, you can write in the chat. You can raise your hand, or you can just feel free to unmute. Has anyone? No one? Has no one actually participated in a remote interview? That's good then. I mean, it means we're going to learn something new today. So in the absence of answers, on to the next slide. But I've taken part in some remote interviews, and I find that they're more relaxing because firstly, I'm not directly in their presence, so it feels a bit better. And I can have some prompts without it being obvious that I have prompts. And there's nothing wrong with taking prompts into your actual interview. There's nothing wrong with it. People just don't really do it, but there's nothing wrong with it at all. It doesn't disqualify you or anything. When you take notes in, you just have to make sure you're not constantly referring to them like as if it's by like using it as a script. You should just use it as prompts, for example. So move on. So what we'll cover today is setting up a professional interview environment at home, best practices for video interviews, handling any technical issues during interviews, and common virtual interview mistakes, and how we can avoid them. So first, we're going to talk about setting up a professional interview environment at home. Can anyone tell me before we actually dive into what they think, how they think your environment should be in a remote interview? Do you think they don't see your background? How do you think we should set ourselves up? Anybody? Anybody? Remy, do you want to give it a go?
You said I've never had a remote interview, so I don't know some of the things they might require.
Okay, no problem. Thank you for that. So that means quite a few of us haven't actually taken part in remote interviews. So just for context, it's a remote interview. It takes place in the comfort of your home. You can do it anywhere. So long that you just won't be face to face with the interviewer. So it will be using your laptop, or your mobile device, even though a laptop is strongly advised. So it mimics face to face, but you just have that comfort of being in your home when you're doing it. Please, can we all mute? Thank you. Yeah, so someone in the chat said, Cecilia said, quiet environment and blur your background. Yeah, agreed. So it shouldn't be noisy and definitely blur your background. Yeah, and yeah, making sure that you're in a neutral, your background is neutral, just to avoid distraction. And we're going to get into that now, actually. So your background, yeah, it needs to be neutral, uncluttered, and tidy. So only use virtual backgrounds if absolutely necessary. By virtual backgrounds, I mean the fake backgrounds that can make you look like you're at the beach, or that can make you look like you're in another house when you're not. Only use it when necessary, such as if it's branded. And I would avoid distracting backgrounds, such as moving backgrounds, just so that the interviewer can focus on what you're saying and not the background, and it just shows more professionalism, should I say. So yeah, highly recommended. Yeah, and it shows that you care about the interview and your presentation. Your lighting, pay attention to the lighting. Avoid being in lighting where the interviewer will not be able to see your face. Let your face be clear. Let your face don't be in a background where your face will look darker, like much darker, that they can't even make out your features. Because I think it's if you put your camera facing when you're sitting by the window and your camera is facing the window, the lighting may not be the best. Camera position, make sure your camera um sits at eye level. And I would use a laptop where possible. It's just easier and it's a bigger screen. If it's by your phone, I can tell when someone has Teamed me at work, for example, with their phone. It's very obvious. Um, so I would use a screen, and it allow because you won't be able to not hold your phone if you're interviewing using your phone. You may not, you may not be able to put it down. You may be moving too much. So yeah, I think a laptop is better. And if you can prop your laptop higher, for example, by putting a large book beneath it, that would be good, so that at least you have, yeah, so your laptop can see at eye level. So if it mimics a face-to-face interview more. In terms of lighting, you can use a ring light. It's just extra light to bring more light to your face. Obviously, don't make it too bright. Just make it just right. Where you need your background to be brighter. Sound, test your sound beforehand. It will be good. Make sure there's minimal background noise. And use headphones with a microphone for clearer audio wherever possible. With your internet, ensure you're in a room. Sorry, excuse my typo. Ensure you're in a room where your internet would also be stronger. Because I know in some houses the Wi-Fi is stronger in some rooms than others. So if you use mobile data and have enough data, I would have my mobile hotspot on standby in case Wi-Fi cuts out. We've all been there where the Wi-Fi randomly cuts out and it disrupts your day. So just having a backup would be good. And it avoids how long the technical difficulty lasts. If it's to do with your connection. Does anyone have any questions so far? Anyone have any questions? Or anyone have any other ideas that can make your um, environment better for a virtual interview? Anyone? Anyone have any other ideas? Any other thing that you think I've missed out, perhaps? Okay, in the absence of any questions, in the absence of any contributions, we'll move on. So, best practice for video interviews. So, how to best approach interviews. So before that, actually, does anyone have an idea of how best to practice, or what you think is what you personally think, even though you haven't undertaken remote interviews, what do you think is best practice? Like what are things you should do before or during your interview? Anyone? Anyone? Hello, are you okay? Anyone have any ideas? Dress appropriately. Yeah, agreed. Agreed. Anyone else? Remy, anything? Ade? Anything from anyone? Yeah, connecting on time. Definitely, because punctuality is key and anything can go wrong when it comes to internet. For example, your Teams, they may be acting up, your Zoom, it may be acting up. My Zoom acted up just now, messed up my whole laptop. So it's important just to connect minutes before with substantially enough time. It's better to be early than not. Thank you for that. Okay, so in the absence of more, we'll move on. So it's important to prepare. So we've already been through, sorry, I've got another one. Your position on the video should be well set. Yeah, thank you, definitely. Thank you. You should definitely make sure that you're seated in the correct place, that you're seated correctly. Don't let your posture be inviting, that you're actually interested in the interview. So yeah, thank you. It's important to prepare. So it's important to research the company and the interviewer, such as using LinkedIn, website, the news. We did a whole session on research. But if anyone has any questions, please let me know. I would practice if you have not a clue how to use Zoom or Teams. I would practice how to use those. It's just the basics, such as joining and joining using the link and leaving and muting, unmuting, putting your video on, not putting your video on, just to avoid distraction and just to avoid delays. Because bear in mind, the interviewer is probably very busy. So just to avoid delays, basically. Have a notepad or your digital notes ready, but please keep them discreet. Don't sound like you're reading from a script. It's important to make sure that you are well prepared beforehand. Yes, it's a video interview, and it's not face to face, but it's still important to prepare as if it is, just so you can put your best foot forward. So you can have notes, but I would make sure they're prompts, such as literally words that I can use to prompt me. For example, if your if they ask why do you want to work for this company, you can have culture, you can have buzzwords such as culture, DNI, a specific statistic that you can never remember, even while you practiced. It's important to just have those little notes, just little prompt words that will help, that will bring it to your remembrance. So yeah, that's one way. And then dress as you would for an in-person interview, please. Definitely don't wear like pajamas, or don't wear nothing from down below. Please dress from top to bottom. Obviously, no need for shoes, for example, but I would dress from top to bottom to just be on the safe side. And yeah, dress as you would for an in-person interview. So wear your dresses, wear your suits, wear your shirts, and yeah, ensure you're well put together, basically. Body language, it's important to smile and maintain eye contact by looking into the camera, and nod to show active listening. Yeah, it's important to nod. It's important to show that you're engaging. Smile, yeah, maintain eye contact. Yeah, and just make sure that your body language as a whole is just inviting and shows that you're interested in the role. It's important to speak clearly and at a moderate pace. It's important to pause slightly before answering a question as well, to avoid your answer being missed in case there's a lag. So if they've asked you a question, just pause for like 5 seconds. Because sometimes the other side, they may experience a delay, so they might miss the first sentence that you said. So just pause for 10 seconds. 10 seconds too long, but pause for like 3 seconds to avoid a lag. Ask thoughtful questions. It's important to ask questions at the end, as you would in a normal interview. Make sure you ask questions. Now it's time for you to try. So it's important. So now we're going to put what we've just discussed into practice. I'm thinking of the best way to do this, whether by breakout room or whether just by doing it here and everyone just give it a go. Is everyone camera ready? I think what I'll do is stop sharing my screen for a minute. So is everyone camera ready so that we can just have a go at, positioning ourselves? Yes, you may be on your phone, but that's okay. Just putting what we've just said into practice by answering just a random question that I'm about to ask. So is everyone camera ready? Okay, hello. So Ayola, do you want to go first and tell me about yourself? And just by making sure that you put into practice what we've just said. So, for example, your background, how you've positioned your phone. Do you want to give it a go? It doesn't have to be long. Just give it a go. And we can't hear you. We can see you, but I think you just need to unmute. And we can't hear you too well.
So what you said?
Oh, there you are. Yeah. You can just answer, tell me about yourself in a couple of seconds, but just with
all right.
into practice. Yeah. I know you're on your phone, but it's okay. But
All
just
right.
what practice. Yeah.
I'm Ayola Adiola. So I'm a trader. So I live in Nigeria. That's all now.
Okay. Thank you for that. What do you think you did well with that? Did you smile? Did you maintain eye contact? Do you feel like you did that?
Yes, I know I smiled. Why?
Yeah, you smiled. And you tried your best to keep your camera stable. So yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for that. Thank you for that go. Rami, do you want to give it a go? Are you camera ready? Okay. She might not be available right now. Cecilia, I can see your camera ready. Do you want to give it a go?
My sorry, my environment is quite noisy, so I don't think I'll be able to do it.
Oh, no problem at all.
Sorry, yeah, it's noisy.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for letting us know. Cecilia, do you want to give it a try? You can answer a question, you can answer a different question. You've answered, tell me about yourself before. Maybe you can answer, what is your 3 biggest strengths? And then, well, you can do just one if you can't think of all 3. But just to give it some practice. No, we can't hear you. I think you're muted.
Great. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, can you know?
Oh, great. Thank you for that question. I'll say my biggest strength is persistence. So I'm not one that actually gives up when I'm actually investigating an issue. So I'm actually persistent to ensure that I get results and to ensure that I see to the end. And then I've been able to use this skill in diverse ways in my current role as a cybersecurity analyst. When incidents happen, I'm actually persistent to know the root cause of the incident, and then I get to investigate and contain the issue. And once that is done, I also need to train the affected users or staff on best practices and how that issue will not reoccur. So I'm actually persistent when it comes to my job, and I actually have passion for my job as well as a cybersecurity analyst. Yeah, I think that's me.
Thank you very, very much. That was a great answer. And you maintained eye contact, you were engaging, your background is fine. It did distract me a little bit though. A little bit.
I know that bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is nice. I wonder how they did it. But yeah, yeah, thank you very much for that. Um, Lucia, do you want to give it a go? Sorry, I know you just came in. Are you camera ready? Basically, what we're doing is we are practicing how to basically be ready for a remote interview. So just best practices, and best practices including making sure your background is fine, your body language is positive, even though it's remote, and making sure that your connection's good, you're connected to a laptop, you're using a laptop, and I think I've forgotten. So body like, yeah, that's part of eye contact and everything. So do you want to give it a go, and then I'll ask a random question, and that's if you're available.
I'm not sure but I don't know what you can see in my background. I can't even see myself.
No problem, I can see you. But you know what? This was very impromptu. So yeah, so you can just answer, what is your biggest weakness and how are you working on it, as an example.
So yeah, my biggest weakness is having to put a lot on my plate at the same time. So I tend to try to help other people in completing their tasks as well as doing mine, in helping them in completing some of their tasks as well as doing mine, which obviously sometimes affects my own productivity as well as my priorities as well. So what I've been doing to mitigate that is I have used my calendar effectively, and also using my to-do list efficiently as well, and ensuring that I know when to stop and I know how to when to prioritize my work correctly, so it doesn't affect deadlines. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very, very much for that. Yeah, that was a great answer. And it shows how you were working towards your the weakness that you mentioned, which is really good. And yeah, even though you connected on your phone, it's fine. I think your background was fine. I think it's neutral enough. But yeah, in future I would connect via a laptop, and I'm sure you already know that. But this was very impromptu. Thank you for that. I won't put anyone else on the spot as they just came in. But can anyone tell me what they think a challenge is with remote working? I'm sorry, not remote working, with remote interviews. Can anyone please tell me what they think? For example, you just were kind of in it at that moment. What do you think your biggest challenge with it is, or would be, if you were to do it with a real interviewer? Then does anyone want to give?
I would say I'll mention about a couple. The first challenge, well, I'm using myself as an example, is always background noise, because I've got my children around and sometimes it's very difficult to keep my son quiet, especially when he's very excited about whatever he's doing. So background noise is one of my biggest challenge. And also the fact that you're trying to please these people or your interviewers and not seeing their body language. They tend to do like shake nod head when they're talking, but then the honest truth is you can't actually see what their hand is doing or how their leg is doing to see whether whatever you're saying is actually right. So those are the two main challenges I think I've faced so far. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Background noise can definitely be something you can't even control sometimes. Like you said, you can't even control it sometimes. So yeah, I can imagine that is a challenge. And sometimes it may even be difficult to find somewhere to do it because it's just not there at that very moment. So yeah, definitely understandable. And yeah, not being able to read the body language of the interviewer fully, it can be hard, like you said, to really figure out what they're thinking. And I do think it is better to connect in person sometimes when it comes to interviews, but remote interviews do have some benefits. For example, if you're based in London and the role is all the way in Cardiff, for example, you can just connect via Teams, and then that way they're able to hire from a wider pool. But yeah, it has its pros and its cons. Thank you for that. Does anyone else have any challenges they think they would face or have faced, or did face when they just did a remote practice just then?
Delivery.
Delivery. Can you expand on that, please?
Like probably you heard the doorbell ring or something. So if you have probably a visitor, you have a delivery, and you're actually in the middle of an interview.
Yeah, there's nothing you can even do about that. We can't say, oh, 1 minute, let me go. That would be very, oh my gosh. That is like why of all times. But
well, it's happened to me before actually.
No way. Did you go get the delivery?
It has happened to me before. I think I was expecting a delivery, but then I think what I did, to be honest, was at the beginning of the interview, because obviously I have that delivery time slot, which definitely fell within that delivery time. So I did made the interviewers know that my bell can go because I'm expecting a delivery. So when it happened while I was actually answering a question, and I didn't want to let the delivery guy go with my parcel, and I needed to say, please, I'll be right back.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I think when the fact that you disclosed it from the beginning, I think that's fine then. I didn't even think of it like that. As long as you disclose it, especially if it's a really important delivery, can't really, yeah, I would disclose it as well. And it's quick. And you can probably even build some rapport over that. Depends, like just having a laugh. So yeah, thank you for sharing. Someone in the chat said background noise and poor internet connection. Yeah, no, poor internet connection. That one, it can be a huge pain because you can do everything right and everything is going well, and all of a sudden your connection can just cut out because it's just deciding that day that it doesn't want to work, and it can be very frustrating. But that's why I mentioned as well, if you have mobile data, then you have enough mobile data, then just having your hotspot on standby would actually be great. Having it already connected to your laptop or whatever device that you're using ready, not having to input the password manually, but ready to automatically connect as soon as you switch it on, that would definitely help. Or it could be an issue that is completely beyond your control, such as if there's just an outage or something, and yeah, there's nothing you could do about that. But I would quickly and promptly apologize to the interview as soon as you get the chance, maybe via email, and you can reschedule or something. So yeah, they understand because they're human beings as well, and it would probably happen to them too. So yeah, thank you very much for that. Anyone else? Toby, I don't know if you are where you can perhaps write in a chat. Temi, Ade, I'm not sure if Ade is online at the minute, but anyone? No problem if not. Anyone? Okay, thank you for the contribution so far. I'll just go back to sharing my screen. I never do this the first time. Okay, so okay. So now we're going to move on to how to handle technical issues. How to handle technical issues. So before the interview, yeah, I would test your tech, definitely test them. Your camera, your mic, your connection, just make sure you're readily prepared to do all of those. Make sure you're readily prepared to yeah, deal with any issues that may come up. As I've mentioned before, know how to use the platform, and having a backup plan if anything goes wrong. So as I've already mentioned before, during and after the interview, if there are technical issues, it's important to stay calm and it's important to stay polite. I would acknowledge, yeah, I would acknowledge the issue. I wouldn't panic. You can just say, seems we're having a connection issue. Should we reconnect if you can? If needed, you can ask to reschedule briefly, literally in the next few minutes, especially once your issue has resolved. And yeah, it's important to perhaps follow up with an apology after the interview and thank them for their patience. So that lastly, I'm going to cover common virtual mistakes and how virtual interview mistakes and how to avoid them. Beforehand, does anyone want to tell me what those common mistakes could be? Anyone? Any common virtual interview mistakes? Anybody? Or what they think if they haven't been through a virtual interview?
It could be lateness.
Yeah. Yeah. How early do you think we should be to a virtual interview?
Yeah, I think minimum of 5 minutes.
Yeah, agreed.
No, that's not right. You cannot.
What do you think?
Cannot. No, you cannot be there in earlier than a minute or two. You can have everything all set up. So if you've been invited to a Teams call, for example,
yeah,
you can have everything all set up. You have your camera, everything. All you're waiting to do is join now, which you can do in about a minute or two before the interviewers join. The reason why you don't join too early, so maximum, the earliest time you can join, like I said, would be maybe 5 minutes max, is because sometimes your interviewers have other interviews prior to yours.
fair enough, yeah.
And probably they've just ended it or they're just rounding up their papers or something like that. And for people that, I don't know, if you work in an office and you know how teams work very well, once the meeting is initiated, and you've joined and you're not the organizer of the meeting, what happened is every other person, even if you're the organizer, every other person gets that nudge that you have joined, which obviously you're early, but then that I've actually joined interviews before and I was declined entrance into the room. I think I've done it like twice, and that actually made me, learn from that, I would be ready, have everything. All I need to do in like a minute or two before that time is just click on join. So I'm all ready, but just to click on join. So that's why, I think those are the reasons why you don't join too early for a virtual interview.
Thank you for that. I agree, but I'm thinking if, for example, but this is why preparation is key. If, for example, someone hasn't used Teams before and they now press join and it requires them to log in, but then they're not, for example, they forget their password. If their interviews are 9 a.m. and it's now 8:59, they will definitely join like 9:01, 9:02. And I'm not sure.
That's not the part I was talking about. When you when you click on the link, the Zoom link in your inbox, or your calendar, excuse me, you could click that like maybe 10 minutes before the interview, right?
Oh, right.
And it would start setting you up. Maybe you don't have the app, you have to download all those kind of preparation. What I'm saying is once that 1 minute or 2 minutes before the interview is when you have your Teams opened and everything is ready. All you need to do, you have your video all set up, you've done your background. All you need to do is click join on that Teams, not on the calendar. I'm not talking about the calendar now. I'm talking about the Teams itself.
Oh, that is fair enough because that's very fair enough because there's I think 2 steps before you join Teams, and that final join, it definitely notifies people that you started.
And the one of the reasons why, if you're not somebody that likes to talk a lot, I would not advise you to join early as well, because if your interviewer starts the meeting early and they're waiting for you, like obviously you join 5 minutes early and obviously the person's already ready waiting for you in 5 minutes, you should be ready to talk. You should be ready to start talking about things out of the box with your interviewer before the interview starts. So if you're not the one that likes to talk and you don't even bother joining early, because they will definitely ask you, oh, how are you doing? Where are you based? All those kind of things. And sometimes some of those information that we might develop before that, during that time, might be, it's not supposed to be, but then it might be used against us in the interview. So
thank you for that. That's actually very useful to know. I think maybe the 5 to 10 minutes perhaps applies more to in-person interviews because you don't know how transport's going to be. But then even then, they don't usually advise you more than 15 minutes late or so, early, sorry, because that can even appear rude. That can actually even appear rude because they're in the middle of something. So especially people with busy calendars, they're definitely in another meeting beforehand, or they at least need a moment to catch their breath. So that's why they'll make you wait in the reception or something. But it is important to be early, but just I think preparation in virtual interviews is key. So anyone else? Thank you for that. Anyone else? Common mistakes for virtual interviews and how to avoid them? Anyone else know what?
Like looking untidy?
Yeah. Please, everything you would do for an in-person interview, please do it, such as have a shower, brush your hair, like put it up, do what you need to do. Wear some makeup if you want, spray some perfume, just to be in that mindset that you are just to be in that mindset that you are in an interview, not making it seem like you're just in any other meeting, because it's not. It's an interview that you worked hard for. So it's important to just look the part and feel the part that you're actually in an interview. Sometimes remote interviews can feel more relaxed, but it's still an interview, and it will observe how you interact and how you look, how you put yourself together. So definitely, thank you for that. lack of preparation, thereby stuttering or mumbling words. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the stuttering, you can appear unprepared. So it's important to definitely rehearse your answers, but not to the point that it's scripted. There should be a balance. Like you can have prompts, because it's a virtual interview, you can have prompts directly next to you or even stuck to your laptop screen, but just so that it helps you out because you have the opportunity to do that, but making sure that you know your answers, you've anticipated questions that can come up. So yeah, thank you for that. Anyone else? Anyone else? Anyone else? Try and move on. It'll be my last slide, but anyone else? Okay. So we're gonna move on now. So the common interview mistakes, as Lucia has clarified, let's log in. Let's actually press join around 2 minutes beforehand. I wouldn't multitask on a remote interview because you have to think, what would I not do in an in-person interview? What would I not do? So it's important to just think about that. Multitasking, such as checking your phone, or such as I don't know, looking around or trying to shush someone in the background. Make sure that you've told everyone that you're going to be in an important meeting. If you don't want to say it's an interview, that you're going to be in an important meeting or you're going to be in an interview and you need absolute silence. If you need to move, your location, please do. Whatever you need to do to ensure that there's minimal distraction. It's important to be fully present, yes. And when there's a lot of distraction around you, it can impact how you answer the question. So it's something to bear in mind and to control as much as you can. But if you can't control it, it's something to perhaps communicate with your interviewer, perhaps. But making sure you do your best to not to allow there to be distractions. Poor posture, please sit up and lean slightly forward to show engagement. And just sitting up or not putting your hands like this while you're talking, it just appears that you're disengaged, or just not talking high. Use your normal pitch, or don't talk too loud, obviously, as well. Don't talk too much or too little. So use the STAR method to keep your structure, to keep control of your answer as well. And don't forget to prepare questions. Have a couple ready. Have a couple ready for them. And like I've mentioned before, having questions can actually take the pressure off of you because you're asking them. So it gives you a chance to breathe and just take in everything that just happened. So I would use that time, and it can actually redeem you sometimes if your interview didn't go too well. If you're asking questions, it can actually cause them to think, that's a good question, and perhaps it can lead to more conversation. It's important not to read from a script. Yes, have some prompts, as I've mentioned, but you can use bullet points and not full sentences to avoid sounding scripted. But yeah, that brings me to the end of this presentation. Does anyone have any questions at all? Today's session was a bit shorter, perhaps because I split it. But does anyone have any questions? Anyone have any more questions, any more advice that they think would be helpful? Anyone? Cecilia, is there any questions or contributions on Facebook, on YouTube? Any at all?
No, none.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you for confirming.
But do
So
you think that there's a possibility of having like an icebreaker?
an icebreaker, okay, like in terms of getting to know one another, do you mean?
I don't know. Like I I think recently, or maybe that's the way it's been done. When you get an interview invite, you get to see the names of the interviewers. Is that interviewers? Yeah. The names of the people that will interview you. So I was thinking, probably you could research about them on LinkedIn or something like that, and then that could help you to have have like an icebreaker when probably when the pleasantries or the greetings are happening, like, oh, good morning, and probably when they're trying to introduce themselves. You could say something, yeah, I think I looked you up on LinkedIn and all that. Probably I noticed this, and I don't know if that could help as well.
Oh no, definitely. Having icebreakers, definitely. That's where your research comes into play. So if you, for example, have a common hobby, then no, definitely. Say, for example, someone that someone loves to do badminton, for example. Um, and if you also love to do badminton, you can say, "Oh, I noticed that you love to play badminton. I do." And then it could just lead to some engagement. And then once that happens, it can just build that natural connection and it can make you more memorable to them. So if you can find anything that you have in common with any of your interviewers, that would be a huge plus, definitely. That would be a huge plus, and especially if you like to talk as well. Could be a great icebreaker, like you mentioned. So yeah,
Yeah,
thank you for that. Yeah.
you just need a lot of practice and probably a lot of things to just break. I don't know. Sometimes it can just be really cold, like
No, really
quite cold.
awkward. Yeah, really awkward. Yeah. Imagine in a virtual interview, I think you'd feel it a bit more because in
Yeah,
person, I think it's a lot better for some reason, but virtually, yeah, it can be hard to break the ice or break the
yeah,
pattern. So yeah, definitely an icebreaker. Or you can just ask, where have you traveled to, or have you traveled to anywhere? Have you been to anywhere? Where's your favorite place to visit? Just questions like that. If you feel the silence is very, very much.
yeah.
Yeah,
But I don't know. Maybe it's. I don't think we get to talk a lot. Probably it varies from person to person,
it
but
varies. Yeah.
yeah.
Some just like to have a big poker face and they won't give you short answers. They just say, yeah, thank you. That's the end of the interview or something. So yeah, it's important to just gauge who you're speaking with as well, because
uh,
you'll be able to tell like if they're bubbly, if they're like I had an interview and I naturally got on with that person because they were just bubbly. Like from the minute they came to come get me in the reception, we were just having conversation. So yeah, it just depends on who the interviewer is as well. Yeah, thank you for that.
yeah. Ah, see as well.
Anyone else have anything? So next week we'll just continue with virtual interviews and it'll be interactive once again. So yeah, thank you all for joining this evening. It's really appreciated. Tomorrow we'll be back to CVs and cover letters with Lucia. So yeah, we look forward to seeing you there.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much all. Thank you. Thank you.